East Tennessee State University is blessed to have many authors among its faculty and staff, and starting today you'll have the opportunity to meet many of them at Barnes & Noble in Johnson City. Here to discuss this event and introduce us to one of those authors is Pan Van Zandt. You have one of those authors with you today. Who do you have with us today?
I do. I have, excuse me, I have Jesse Graves from the Department of Literature and Languages.
Jesse, I appreciate you being here. You're the Poet Laureate of ETSU.
Yeah, I'll take that title.
I like
that
that
title.
title.
Yeah.
You should stick with that title.
My department chair would say Poet in Residence, but we'll go with Poet Laureate.
But still, a poet nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, that is a very special title to have in itself.
Well, thank you.
And Pat, let's talk about this event. You have a lot of authors on staff over there at ETSU, and you're going to be featuring several of them at Barnes & Noble starting today.
Starting today. We actually every fall do a celebration of ETSU authors, which is really for our campus community. And so we honor those authors who have published a major work, so a book, a CD, a DVD, and that's sort of an internal event. And this year we decided to try to move it out to the community so that the community would have an opportunity to meet and talk with these wonderful ETSU authors that we have.
Hey, and give us a listing of some of those authors that are going to be out there.
We
know Jesse.
We know Jesse. We also have from his same department, Don Johnson, who is a poet and a novelist. And most of these folks that we're featuring actually write about this area. So that was one of the things that we wanted to focus on at this event. We also have Tom Burton, who is an emeritus professor in that department, and he's written a sort of allegorical novel called Doubting Thomas and the Book of Common Prayer, so that would be very interesting. We have a couple of historians, Stephen Nash. We also have Melanie Story, both historians who have written on various aspects of the history of this region. We have Fred Sauceman, and I know you know Fred.
Fred's
Sauceman.
around here quite a bit.
That's right.
He knows, if he doesn't know about food, he'll find out for you real quick.
Right, so he's going to be signing and talking about his latest book called Buttermilk and Bible Burgers.
Exactly.
So, that sounds great. We also have sort of an interesting thing with Lee Bidgood and Sherrod Lang, who actually produced a DVD, and I know you've probably seen that featured in the area, called Banjo Romantica, which is actually about Czech bluegrass.
Exactly.
And so they'll be there talking about that, and Lee is from Appalachian Studies, Sherrod Lang is from Radio, Television, and TV. And finally we have Melanie Story. Oh, sorry, I mentioned her, Renee Lyons, who's actually in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction. And her book is a little different. She's talking about civics instruction in the library. And I think civics instruction might be something we'd all like to go back to.
We all might need that this time of the year.
Exactly.
But Jesse, I want to touch on this real quick before we get out of time here. The process that a writer goes through, especially for a poet. It is very intense, isn't it?
It can be very intense. It's work that you do often in solitude, and it really helps to have a community of writers like we have here at ETSU to work with and to share the work with, and a community of students. I teach our creative writing classes at ETSU, so our poetry writing classes.
And these are all your books you have right here?
These are my books. I have 2 poetry collections that I'll be talking about on Sunday. My session is Sunday.
Latest one is The Bass and Ghost.
Latest one is Bass and Ghost, and I have an edited collection that I co-edited with Thomas Allen Holmes, a professor in my department, and another professor down at Carson Newman named Ernest Lee, on the really wonderful East Tennessee poet Jeff Daniel Marion. So that's a very recent book. It's my most recent book.
All right. I'm sorry we're out of time, but we have some great information. I want to get that up on the screen right now for you. To find out all about what's going on with these great authors at Barnes & Noble. It's happening this weekend. And Pan Van Zandt, Jesse Graves, thank you so much for coming by. And when you're coming by and checking out these authors, you're also helping out the Sherrod Library there at the ETSU campus as well.